All right, so this video is for SP404 users that have questions about recording directly into their DAW. And I had someone ask about how to get it synced up. So I'm using, the way I'm doing it primarily, or the way I like to do it, is just record through an audio interface. Send the outs of the SP and not really syncing it up necessarily, but literally playing it into the DAW. And the good thing about like an Ableton is you pretty much can play it in, and then if you're off and you need to adjust something, then just you warp it, right, and just adjust the marker. So I'll kind of show you that workflow just so you can see what I'm talking about. So give me 1 second to put this on the external headphones, because the one thing you can do is you can send the SP in like this. And so I'm going to show you this method because I don't have an interface anymore. I got rid of my interface because I found myself not really using it. And so what I did was right here, let me show you, see if I can show you this without messing everything up. Okay, it's going to be kind of challenging, but I'll zoom out a little bit so you can see it. All right, check this out. So here's the SP. I have it hooked up via USB-C into the USB-C, right? So you can literally record in. Now I'm going to zoom back in so that you can see the computer, because that's the most important thing in this particular video. All right, all it is hooked through the USB-C. So you'll see the option is to put it here. Now, if you put it as external too, you can hear it, but you're going to have to use the external source button to allow yourself to be able to hear it. And if you record in using that, it will bleed the sound of the click back into the recording. So my suggestion is don't do that. Just use headphone out, or if you have like speakers, run your speakers to your MacBook or whatever you have. Use a different source for the audio, because the the way it's set up in here is you can't run the input or the external source at the same time. Okay, that's just what it is. Even though you can technically do it, it's gonna mess you up if you try to listen and do it that way. So I mean, it's up to you, but that's just my method of the madness. So headphone out, and I'll run. And the good thing is, depending on what computer you have, the headphones are pretty good on here. The speakers on this one are actually really good. This is the Pro chip, the M1 Pro chip with the 16. So that 16-inch, it's just something about these speakers. They sound really good, and the for listening purposes, that is, and for mixing purposes, definitely grab yourself a pair of headphones. I think it's the best choice. I use the Audio Technica ones. I think these are the ATH M50X. They're Bluetooth. You don't have to have Bluetooth stuff, but because I never use it. But anyway. All right, so if you run it this way, and I'm really sitting on an unbalanced surface, so I'm gonna try to move something real quick. This keyboard is taking up so much room. Turn the volume right. Okay, so set that up with there like that. I'm gonna actually unplug the headphones and do it a different way. Otherwise you won't hear it. And I don't want to put on the speakers because I got my family still. Some of them are still sleeping. So we're going to use the MacBook speakers, and we're going to send the SP in through it. Okay, so there's our setup. We're going to press the record here. So I have the camera like literally, you can see how close my hands are. The camera is the way it's sitting. It's kind of in my way. But you can see the sound is coming through now. And so here's one of the things that a lot of people, they say, well, I got a lot of latency. My suggestion, and this is just a suggestion, is change your buffer size. So 512 tends to give me a little latency. I notice sometimes, this computer can handle the 128 samples buffer size, so I don't mind putting it like that. And then okay, so that's cool. So this is not me trying to make a beat. I'm just showing you that it comes through. It's a lot less latency issue. It's not perfect using the USB-C. I'll tell you that up front. My real suggestion is if you want it to sound really on point and good, record it through the outs on the SP. So use the outs into an audio interface. I think that's the best sound I've ever had with it. And I don't use it all the time because when I'm in here, sometimes if I don't want to use the SP at all, I'll just use the drum rack, which I typically have my same samples in the drum rack. So whatever samples you have, use those samples. That's fine. Let's use what's in here for now. I'm just going to record something really quickly. So instead of tapping the tempo, I'm just going to guess. I don't really mind doing something slower, that's for sure. All right, so if I hit record. That's 2 bars. Perfectly fine with me. Now you can record, I've shown in the other video, you can go back and look at it, that you can record these either separate or you can record them together, however you want to do, and see how I can time warp that. So if I want that note to be here, I want this note maybe to stay there, but I want this one, just put them, that was the wrong spot. I think it's right there, yeah. Put a warp marker on it and just put it where you want it. So that's fine for me. I want one slightly in front. That's just me personally. So there's, let's see, delete that. And then I usually go Command J, right? And that'll just lock that in where I have it. Cool. So then I'll build a duplicate track. By the way, you can have this set up as a template if you want. And then you just go in and build, like, let's say I want to do the kicks now. So I'm going to do something simple. Cool. This is not purpose. Now, I won't touch those kicks. I'm not going to mess with them. Maybe this first one I would probably pull it a little bit that way. I said I wouldn't touch it. Now I'm sitting here doing it. But yeah, maybe I'll pull that one there. Okay. I might do that. This is just, I don't usually do this, but I'm just doing it right now. Whatever. Okay, and then consolidate it by going Command J, right? So this is one way to record if you want to do it. This is why I'm not afraid to record audio in, because you can adjust the audio pretty quickly on where you need it to be. It's not like you got to be perfect at it. If you want to bring it up, bring the gain up a little bit on it, right? Come in here, do the same in here, bring the gain up. Okay, and then I would take and do another one with the hi-hats. Oops, I was supposed to duplicate, so it'll be all the same color at least. Delete that, and then record into this one. And you can turn these off auto. I just put them on auto because you need them on so you can hear the sound coming through. Perfect. I mean, not perfect, but you know what I'm saying. It's good. I'm definitely not going to be quantizing that. I'm going to leave them. Although if I was nitpicking, which I am right now, this section here is a little bit more off than I like it. So I'll probably bring it over. There's better. Okay, cool. That's it. But you see how quick that is? There's the drum track. I mean, a basic little 2-bar drum track. But that's what I'm doing on there. I'm not syncing the SP to this. I don't see the purpose of that. I mean, maybe there is a reason for that, but I want my drum. I like my drums a little loose. I don't want them like spot on. And if I was going to do that, I might as well just drag drum samples in and drop them on the grid. I wouldn't use the SP at that point. I don't see the purpose. So I use SP for somewhat sound coloration. I don't need it, but it is one of the things I do enjoy about it, is that it sounds nice on the drums. So there you go. Simple as that. So that's one way, using the USB-C. If you choose that way, make sure you have a computer that is able to handle that sample rate, better sample rates. Because if you don't, then you might get more latency than you expect. The better choice is to use an audio interface and record. Make sure you have at least two inputs on it, and just get you two cables that look like this. I'll show you. I'm just going to show you one cable. You don't need to see both, but hopefully I'm not. So this is a warm audio one, but you just need two of these. One, take them to the outs, send them into your audio interface input, and literally sit there and record directly into it. The same way I'm doing with the USB-C. If you don't have all that and you just want to use the USB-C and you only want to use the SP, it works as you just saw me do. So what was I going to say? So that's it on that. So you have those two methods. You can either USB-C it in or use the back of it. Now the next thing is, I can't show you how to record through the audio interface. I had all my other videos that you see prior to this video is me. If I'm using the SP with the Ableton, that's how I'm doing it. I'm recording it through an audio interface. So you can get around $100 or so. You probably find you a what is it? Oh my goodness, my brain can't think of what it is right now. But you can get you a little 2-input audio interface if you really want to go that route. Buy you some decent cables and start recording. But I will not sync. I don't see the purpose of that. I'm not trying to get a perfect drum loop. If I want that, I can just do it in Ableton without even using the SP. I think the SP gives you a little flavor added to your sound. The other method I was going to show you is, like, if you don't have an SP and you want to kind of add to it, you can use, well, this is drums, it's knock and Valhalla. You can use a little, that's another thing I forgot to say that before I go into this method is, I love this plugin. So, and I use it on, well, I won't say everything, but the majority of the stuff. The Valhalla Vintage Reverb. So what I like to do is, there's an ambient drum air in there. You see it right there. And I'll start it at 10 on everything. Oh, that didn't. If you get tired of waiting, you just do this 10, right? 10%. And then what I'll do is I'll copy that over to this one, right? And then the same thing here, I'm pasting it just on all of them so they all have it. So it takes your drums from the way you heard it to this. Now I know it's subtle and it's hard to tell. I'm gonna crank it on the hi-hats. So you can hear it. It's basically providing you, with some like air in the drums so they don't sound so dry. The other thing I use is knock. Drums and knock. By the way, drums and knock is on, or it's knock, but plugins that knock, I should say. Put that at least on the kick. If you're not going to do anything else, put it at least on the kick. You know, there's a little air in there too. I'll bring the sub up just because I like the kick to hit a little bit harder, saturate it a little bit, and put some knock on it. And then this is a little lo-fi filter. So then I put that on the wrong one, by the way. So let me put it on the right one. There you go. So the kick, snare, I usually like it in that order. There you go. So but you don't need that, because if you have the SP and you know how to use the effects, the compressors and things in there, you could technically, you can make your kick sound really good. So this is just more for mixing and coloration and etc, etc. You could put a little reverb inside, that's inside the SP, on the drums yourself, but just be really sparing on it so that you don't make it sound really soupy or washy or whatever that sound is, that, unless that's what you want. So anyway, this video is supposed to be short, but that was the purpose of this video, was just to show you that how I use the SP. I do not sync it at all. I just record directly into the DAW that I'm using. And if I was in Koala, I would, if I was going to use, like say, the SP with Koala, I might, and wanted the drums to come from the SP, then I would probably just record them directly in to Koala, kind of the same way. And I've shown this in many videos, and I'm going to show it one more time. Who knows if I'll show it again, but you can literally, just like in Koala, let me, actually, you know what, let's do this, hold on. Let's quit live, don't save, and open up Koala, because I have it on here. Is this the one that I'm looking for? I think this is the one. All right, we'll leave that because it doesn't matter. So we're using the mic input. Test, 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 test. Okay, so is it coming? All right, so unfortunately this one's mapped. So give me 1 second, I'll show you what I mean. Audio interface. I'm gonna see if that'll help it. Yeah, okay, I turned it off, good. So if you hit like record, you can. Okay, so just showing you real quick. Nope. So I just recorded in a simple drum loop. That is not what I'm trying to do. I'm gonna normalize it just because you won't hear it otherwise, I think. Okay, so how do you make that work? Well, what I usually do is you saw I drum that last kick on the end, just so that the timing is right? And now I can crop it. Now it should be I'm not gonna say perfect loop, but it should be a loop, good loop for you. Okay. So it's a little off. Let me do it one more time for it, drum it. Okay. Mind you, I'm not playing to a click, so I don't, you'd want to do this to a click if you want it to be spot on timing wise. I'm just showing you a quick, making a quick break myself. All right, so there you go. Then hit the button. So you see what I mean? So if you didn't want to use the sequencer or the pattern mode and select in there, Koala with a cell phone, or even with the iPad, or even with the MacBook, or whatever you use, could become your sequencer and just do it in there, and then record the drums in. Record them in somewhat loose, like that if you want them loose. If you don't want them loose and you want to record to a sequencer, you could put a sequencer on, I guess, to a tempo. You might be able to time stretch this. Let's see if it sounds good. So you could do it that way. The other way is you could record in just a simple, let's say you didn't want to do, you'd probably leave the hats out and just record in just your standard kick snare. But what I would do is put this little click on right here. Go back to the sample. I'm gonna get rid of this one. Doesn't really matter. Hit play on a track, but don't put anything in here. Just hit play. Yeah, so it didn't record the, as long as it don't record the metronome, you can use it. Okay. Now stop the metronome. So I'm basically using the internal sequencer clock to get the timing right. I'm gonna make this, first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna crop the front end off, then I'm gonna normalize it. And now I can zoom, well, if I do there we go, zoom in. There's my first note that I wanna take off. Crop, boom. So now I think this is at 4 bar. I was about to say it's either 4 or 8, but now you can see how they're hitting on the transients pretty close. That note there is a little off, but I don't care. But you see what I'm saying? So you can use the SP directly into Koala and just use Koala as a sequencer, because I think the sequencer in Koala is better, in my opinion, than the pattern sequencer in the SP. It's not that the SP is not a good, because you can use it in there, but I find that it's just the visual and everything in here makes it a little bit easier to me to put together the drums. And I was able to play to a track. So let's say now I go in here and I add 4 bars in here, double up, go in here. There we go. All right, and here it is. Just make sure it's not, the loop isn't on there. And now if you play it, so you see it's just that easy. Just that easy. So you can make your, and you might say, well, why would I do that when I could just do it here? Well, the idea is that you're using the SP to not only have the pads to play the drums, but also to be able to use the effects in there, like the 303 and the 404 vinyl Sims and all the things that Koala doesn't have, that you can use to try to make your drums. So I just showed you 2 ways you can use the USB-C. That's what I'm using. I'm not using an interface at all. So you don't have to go out and buy an interface. You just use that. And then if I wanted to record in, I'm not going to show you this right now because I'd have to hook a guitar up and all that. But the SP has the input for a guitar. So I can just run my guitar through the SP into the system here and then record a guitar in. So it's basically an audio interface as well as your drum machine and sampler. So you can do your work in there and then transport it to Koala or to Ableton, or you could just do the work straight into Koala and use Koala as your song layout, right? Because it's all these little boxes or sequence boxes that can, I think they go up to like 64 if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so 64 bars per thing. And then of course, let's see if you can do this. You can stack it. Add to the end, 128. So you can go more. You can technically, they only go 64 if you're just doubling, but you can actually add to the sequence in there. Can you do it twice? Let's see. 256, yeah, so it's unlimited on, it must be, or it has some limitation, I'm sure at some point. I don't know if I'd ever do that, but okay. So there you have it. All right, this video was way longer than what I expected, but that's okay because now you see at least how to do it. So it's just a matter of if that's your workflow you want to choose. If you have Logic, you can do the same thing. The only reason I don't use Logic for stuff